instead to turn it around.
And welcome to Heal DC. This is Joni, and we have a packed show in store for you today. I think my dear friend Chuck Hicks is going to be joining us. We have two critical topics we will be discussing today. We're going to kick off the hour with a very critical issue regarding DC's escalating housing crisis, and we're honored to have at-large council member Robert White with two advocates who I'll introduce in a moment. The second part of the show at 10:30, we're going to be talking about a very important day-long national summit on gun violence and racial injustice under the leadership of Reverend Graylin Hagler with activists Ron Hampton and Reverend Patty Fears, who are our two guests. So with that introduction, we are going to jump right in to the topic, our first topic. We are, again, pleased to have at-large DC council member Robert White. He is a fifth-generation Washingtonian. He is serving his second term as at-large member of the DC Council, serving since 2016. And he also chairs the Housing Committee, the DC Housing Committee. We are facing some serious, the advocates say, crisis in terms of the potential for increasing evictions and more. We're going to be joined, hopefully in a moment, with Jeremiah Lowry, Director of Policy and Advocacy with Legal Aid in DC. You know, he used to be on, and he's often on this show before he played that role. And also Amber Harding, Executive Director of the Washington Legal Council for the Homeless. Let's jump right in. Councilmember White can be with us for about 15 minutes, so we're going to pack in as much as we can, and then Amber and Jeremiah will be jumping in with questions as well. But welcome, Robert White.
Thank you so much, Joni. I'm glad to be with you this morning, this rainy morning.
Yes. Well, I've been hearing quite a lot of concerns from the advocacy community about the bill that's going to be introduced tomorrow, which advocates are in the DC Council, advocates are saying could actually make matters much worse in terms of escalating evictions, et cetera. But perhaps you could give your perspective or where we are right now and perhaps where we need to be, and your perspective on the impact of tomorrow's vote, and tell us as well about what the bill is about.
Yeah, so tomorrow, Chairman Mendelson will put forward an emergency bill on the emergency rental assistance program. A lot of people know this is a program I've fought really, really hard for, was able to successfully working with colleagues, working with advocates for this fiscal year, which ends today. Got tens of millions of dollars more than the mayor proposed for next fiscal year. Got millions. It's just a difficult budget time, but there are a lot of people and families who cannot afford to pay their rent in the city, and they're applying for emergency rental assistance. That is really important to remember. The other part that is playing an important role that we can't forget about is that we've had about an 800% increase in non-payment of rent. And so I'm hearing from building owners, for-profit, nonprofit, mom and pop, to say, hey, we still have to pay mortgages like everybody else. When a lot of folks aren't paying their rent, we're going to lose our buildings. And one of the things I've seen in the city over the years and decades is that often when buildings turn over, they turn over to less good actors. So this is one of many places where there's no easy solution. So we're going to make some reforms to the emergency rental assistance program, then make sure that that limited money is going to the people who need it most, making sure that folks who might want to take advantage of the program aren't taking advantage of it, and trying to make sure we don't actually lose affordable housing. That is an impossible balance tightrope. So we're doing our absolute best. And what I've been doing just, as a leader in this space, it's working together with everybody, collaborating with advocates, residents, for-profit developers, nonprofit developers to say, hey, there's no perfect solution, but let's work together to benefit the most residents. So that is a lot of words to say. We've got one of many, many difficult choices in front of us tomorrow.
Okay, and thank you, Councilmember White. I'm hearing quite a different perspective from the advocates, and I would like Amber Harding to jump in. Amber is the executive director of the Washington Legal Council for the Homeless. Has been playing that role for at least, I believe, 20 years, and she and others have been raising some concerns about this bill tomorrow and where we're at. So welcome, Amber.
Thank you, Jenny. I'm very happy to be here. And I will 100% agree that this issue is very complicated. Definitely people are really struggling to pay their rent, and landlords and affordable housing developers are saying that they are struggling to pay their mortgage. Unfortunately, I don't think this bill that's moving forward tomorrow is going to really do anything to help resolve those problems. And I think that it's really important to sort of step back and say, well, what's the cause of that affordability problem? And then how do we solve it? I think that focusing on reforming ERAP is a straw man in this conversation. ERAP is a program that is so oversubscribed. So many people apply for rental assistance because of the deeply entrenched affordability problem in this city, right? And so narrowing eligibility and sort of taking a scarcity approach to that program and trying to winnow out who is most in need out of a really, really large pool of people who desperately need help, I just think is the wrong approach. I think that rents have gone up 10% since 2019. And everything is more expensive.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Amber, you're going to have a little bit more time after the council member needs to jump off soon, but Councilmember White, again, we're going to have to probably come back to this issue with perhaps some of our other on-air hosts and perhaps have a forum on this, because I'm hearing a lot of concern from a whole array of advocates who are saying that it's really the big developers and the corporate sector who is pushing this this situation to make things worse. So do you feel, Reverend, I'm sorry, Councilmember, I'm a little bit stressed out this morning. Councilmember White, do you feel that there is a possibility, or how would you respond that this legislation, if passed, and again, I'm hearing that the bill is being pushed by the developers, could increase the eviction rate significantly?
Yeah, so this is a time in our city, and we're going to be here for a while. So we've got to sort of, put ourselves fully in this space. Advocacy is an important aspect of making policy, but we've got to be really careful about facts. The people I've heard from most on this issue is not big developers, and I want people to understand that it is not big developers. It's nonprofit developers and operators who develop affordable housing, who we rely on, who don't do this to make a profit, and like mom and pop folks, like people who might rent one house, or a local organization that I've spoken to who doesn't focus on housing, but they happen to own a 4-unit building. That's who's coming to us saying we're going to lose our buildings. So if they lose their buildings and their homes, right, who comes in and snatches those up? Other like do good folks who want to do good for our city? No, probably not. Probably slumlords. If rent isn't getting paid and people who actually do a good job with housing can't afford to maintain the buildings, who takes the brunt of that? it's everyday folks. It's folks like my family, the folks who have been priced out of this city. So we have to take like a full view, even of the parts that make us uncomfortable. And there are a lot of parts of these decisions that make me really uncomfortable, but I can't turn away from them because I owe it to the people I represent, to the people struggling in the city, to even look at the hard parts and not shortchange how difficult this is. This is difficult, but we're not narrowing eligibility. We're not doing the bidding of big developers. And I think it's not a fair characterization of a truly difficult issue to sort of minimize it to commonalities that just aren't accurate. So we've got to take a look at the hard parts of this, and we got to work together on it.
Yes, well, again, I'm hearing quite concerns among the advocacy community. For instance, we heard a few weeks ago that the mayor reversed her commitment to the housing subsidies impacting about 2,000 families. And I believe we do have Jeremiah on now, Jeremiah Lowry, who works now with the Legal Aid DC as the Director of Policy and Advocacy. He's been on this show for over many years with us. So good morning, Jeremiah.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes. So we don't have much more time with the council member. What would be your major concern about this bill that is going to be introduced tomorrow?
Yes, I think our concerns, we think the bill will only exacerbate processing delays by requiring additional documentation from tenants and eliminating self-certification. We believe that eliminating a tenant's ability to self-certify by imposing documentation requirement will further delays in the processing timeline. Furthermore, requiring the applicant to prove that an emergency has led to a need for assistance will create unnecessary limits to who is eligible without giving ineligible applicants any new pathways to assistance. We think if the goal is to eliminate delays and increase rental payments to landlords, requiring more payments and limiting eligibility is counterproductive. I think, lastly, just two quick other points. We want to come to that. I definitely hear what the council member is saying. When he mentioned the concerns of nonprofit housing developers, and us as advocates, we definitely look forward to thinking bigger picture and longer term, coming to the table with housing providers and tenants, and addressing this crisis, this eviction crisis. Because I think we're all in this ecosystem together. And so at the end of the day, once Tuesday is over, we would love to work with the council member, and we'd love to work with housing providers and tenant and advocates to address this looming crisis, to ensure folks are able to stay in their homes at the end of the day, because that's what we want, And I think, lastly, there's so many different solutions at the table, that involve inclusionary zoning for new housing developments and funding first right to purchase, and also strengthening TOPA and stuff of that nature. So again, we want to work with the council member on all these different issues, because you're right, there is a crisis. We do need to address it. So.
Okay, Jeremiah, thank you. And Councilmember, I know you only have a few more minutes, but again, I'm slightly on the outside of the advocates, but I've been very concerned about what I'm hearing. And maybe you could just let us know where we stand with the potential of 1,000 or 2,000 families losing their subsidies and then therefore at risk of being homeless. And if those 2,000 families need to go into shelters,
Yeah.
apparently that's twice as much money as the subsidies would cost. So
Yeah.
it seems like a major crisis from what I could tell.
There is no doubt, Joni, we're in a crisis, and I'm a resident too. And if I weren't sort of deeply involved in this, and I heard folks say big developers are pushing for changes to emergency rental assistance that are going to narrow eligibility, I'd be really concerned too. But that just is not the case. And I am actually still working at this moment to make changes to the most recent bill that people have seen. So I'm working in front of the scenes. I'm working behind the scenes, and I'm going to do the absolute best for our residents. But this other issue, because there are a lot of housing issues, the rapid rehousing, these 2,000 families, that are going to be put into the shelters and streets is something that I have been working on for months, because I'm seeing the administration put families into the rapid rehousing program that need more intensive services. And so it's not a surprise to anyone that after 12 months, 18 months, even 24 months, I'm hearing from mothers working 2 jobs, doing everything they can, still can't afford to pay rent for reasons that all of us understand. And they're getting notices from the Department of Human Services that they're going to be put out of this rapid rehousing program. So I worked very closely with Chairman Mendelson and others. We funded housing vouchers, so I got to borrow money from one place. I put it into vouchers for these families so that they would not be homeless. Now, months after the council passed this legislation, the mayor is saying, oh, that money doesn't exist. That is absolutely false. It is sloppy. It is messy. It is inaccurate. And it makes me angry because the administration has to be more conscious of who they put into a program. They can't set people up to fail. And then when we find a solution, they can't say, oh, we can't find the money, so we're still going to send these families back into shelter. It's absolutely unacceptable. We found a solution to this. We funded a solution, and the administration has to step up and follow through.
Absolutely, and I understand that DHS announced last Thursday that the agency is delaying the opening of this rental assistance program. It was supposed to start, I believe, tomorrow.
Yes.
But it's just outrageous. And before you leave, Councilmember White, we have heard a lot about the concept of bribes, and I'm sure listeners will know what I'm referring to with our council member from Ward 8. But it makes me question, Councilmember White, what amount of money does the mayor and perhaps other city council people get from these developers? I'm sure it's considered to be legal, but from my perspective, if these privileged people are paying the city in some way, that certainly amounts to bribery. But would you say that the developers have unequal role in directing this these housing policies?
Well, Johnny, I do want to clarify, because everybody doesn't know, I'm Councilmember Robert White, and they're
I'm
Councilmember
sorry, I didn't
White.
make that clear.
And
Yeah.
and look, even some people are generally informed sometimes confuse us. So the issues of bribes
Yeah.
are not associated with me. The
Absolutely.
District of Columbia, I think, because of the wisdom of residents, advocates, council members, we have very low donation limits. And now we have public financing, and now we have a law that prohibits folks who do business with the city from donating to campaigns. But that's not to say there's not an outsized influence of some developers. Like, unfortunately, there's still a way the game is played in DC that I'm fighting against, that a lot of people are fighting against, but it benefits some people. But I want to make sure we don't sort of skip the difficult parts of the conversation as we examine these things. I'm not seeing issues here of undue influence. Again, what I'm hearing in terms of advocacy is, big developers and the council doing their bidding, but that really is not the issue that I'm looking at right now with respect to payment of rent and the possibility of seeing our affordable housing stock just completely decimated. And we've got to take a short-term view of this. We also have to take a long-term view of this. I'll say again, I'm a fifth-generation Washingtonian, but I'm one of the last members of my family still standing in DC because of the issue of affordability, because of the issue of dilapidated properties. So I don't want to see displacement. I also don't want to see folks living in slum properties, nor do I want to see residents have their debts mount year after year because we kick the can down the road. So, leadership calls us to step up, not just in the good times, but in the hard times. It requires us to make decisions that make us look good, but also make decisions that don't make us look good. And that's where we start to separate leadership. And this is a time in the city where all of us, every single one of us, are going to have to step into uncomfortable places and respect each other with our advocacy, with our conversations, and work together. And I'm excited because I think advocates, residents, for-profit, nonprofits, and the government working together can help us navigate from what is a really difficult situation. I think all of us would admit that it's difficult, and all of us will admit that we have to work together and challenge each other. And so I thank the advocates for challenging us. And I think together we will help navigate through a very difficult housing crisis.
Okay, let's hope so. And just before you leave, Councilmember Robert White, I'm going to put a word in for my colleague Roach Brown, who people can hear on Tuesday mornings at 10 a.m. He's definitely an advocate for returning citizens and has also expressed a lot of concern about the increase in homelessness amongst returning citizens in DC. So hopefully you can keep that on your plate as well, Councilmember Robert White.
I appreciate it. I've done a lot of work there, including creating housing vouchers for returning citizens, because some of them are my family members, and I've worked closely with Roach Brown. But we got a lot more to do, so I'm going to keep working. And shout out to Roach Brown. I appreciate you raising him. That's a great brother.
Yes, he is. Thank you, Councilmember Robert White, and we'll see perhaps in the future PFW can have a larger community forum on this issue. But thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much. I'm off to the 911 call center issue, so no shortage of emergencies. But thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to joining you again.
Okay, terrific. Thank you, Councilmember Robert White, Councilmember at large since 2016, serving his second term, fifth generation Washingtonian. And we have a few more minutes to talk with our two advocates on the line to clarify any other concerns. Jeremiah Larry, Director of Policy and Advocacy for Legal Aid DC, Amber Harding, Executive Director for Washington Legal Counsel for the Homeless. Again, we will perhaps and hopefully at someday have a longer discussion on this with perhaps with other members of the PFW family. But Amber, is there one or two major points that you want to clarify or
Yeah.
emphasize?
I think it's just important for people to know what the bill does and doesn't do that Robert Wright was talking about, because there are kind of two parts to it. There is part that will make it harder for people to get ERAP. It'll make it harder for people to document their eligibility, and it will narrow who can get it. It will, you'll have to prove that you underwent an emergency. So something unexpected happened. And so for people who, you know, like those families in rapid rehousing that you mentioned, when they get terminated from that program, I'm thinking they're probably not going to qualify for rental assistance anymore because they won't be able to say that it was an emergency. And so when I say it narrows who can get emergency rental assistance, that's what I'm talking about. I also think there's part of it that speeds up the eviction process to the point that you can get evicted before the department has made a decision about your eligibility on emergency rental assistance. So you might be eligible, you might be getting your rent paid, but the bill as it stands right now says you can get evicted before that happens. That's a pretty big change to the law. So those are their biggest concerns. And I think to Robert White point, and Jeremiah said this too, we are sympathetic to the fact that these affordable housing developers are asking for their assistance. This bill doesn't give them assistance. It actually makes it harder for them to get paid. And ironically, those big developers that you're talking about, they are advocating on this bill. They're mainly advocating on speeding up evictions. They're actually asking for more people to be able to get rental assistance because they know that's how they're going to get that back rent paid. Like both landlords and tenants want to pay their rent.
Well, it seems like a crisis to me. It's quite disturbing. Jeremiah, you have the last word on this issue now. Perhaps you could tell us, share. I know there are quite a number of other organizations of advocates that are forming together to raise concerns about what's going on. So share with us your final thoughts for today.
My final thoughts, I want to just quickly co-sign everything that Amber has just stated, full agreement with all of that. I think my final thoughts are, we're going to there's a lot of different organizations currently at the table who are pushing it back against this bill. You have Jobs for Justice, Jews United for Justice, Empower DC. You have Legal Counsel for the Elderly, AARP. You just have a lot of different organizations, Jews United for Justice as well. A lot of different organizations that have been, working on behalf of tenants for a very long time. And so we're still deeply concerned about this bill. We're going to keep pushing until, the clock strikes zero. But after Tuesday, Joni, I totally full agreement with you. We need to have a larger conversation about our housing ecosystem and what transformative policies we need in order to ensure people have access to safe, affordable housing in the city, because we're in a crisis right now, and this is deeper than we've ever been, so we need transformative policies. I will also quickly say that the council is moving super fast on this bill, but there are a lot of innovative ideas that are on the table that are not moving super fast on. You have the Green New Deal for housing that still needs to be passed, social housing that still needs to be passed. There's different reforms to strengthen TOPA. There's different reforms to make housing more deeply affordable. They're on the table right now that we hope the council after Tuesday will move with lightning speed to get done, and then after that, we just need to keep having bigger picture conversations around how do we, produce even more transformative policies, because at the end of the day, the goal for everyone, or should be the goal for everyone, is to ensure that everyone is able to stay in their homes. We're going to keep fighting for that. So thank you, Joni.
Absolutely. We have a lot of work to do, and I can speak personally as someone who's recently and still in the midst of a housing crisis myself. It's no fun. And of course, you have to connect housing problems with health issues. They're all interrelated. Looks like this is another big fight that we have to mount. And hopefully some of my other colleagues on PFW, we can come together to have a longer discussion. I want to thank Parisa Naruzzi, who is heard on Tuesdays at 1 p.m. with Empower DC, taking action, for assisting me as well with this topic. Thank you very much, Jeremiah and Amber. We hope to talk to you again in the future. And listeners, keep your eyes and ears open to what is going to happen tomorrow with this bill in the DC City Council. And of course, this is a national issue. It's not just affecting DC, but certainly Maryland and all across the country. So thank you. And let's hope that 2,000 more folks won't be evicted. Let's hope they don't have to go to shelters. So we'll be in touch again soon. We're going to move into our next segment in a moment. I just wanted to give a special mention, and I was hoping Chuck would be on with me, but
I am, Joni.
oh, I didn't know you were on, Chuck. Otherwise, I would have brought you in. But Chuck and I, we want to mention that we lost a major hero in our nation and community, Bill Lucey, who was a frequent guest on this show. Chuck, I don't know if you want to give a one or two sentences about Bill Lucey.
Well, he was a major labor leader in the labor movement, and the labor leader for the African American people of color movement in the labor movement. And of course, Bill Lucey is responsible for that sign that you see when people that says, "I am a man." He created that when the sanitation workers were fighting for better wages in Tennessee.
Memphis,
So,
yep.
and
Yeah.
when you see that sign, "I'm a man," that's Bill Lucey.
Yes, and Bill Lucey was right there with Martin Luther King right before he
Yes.
was killed. He was the very key person in AFSCME, American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, which Chuck used to head the local AFSCME chapter. But he
And I was president of the council and director for a while. But Bill Lucey
Yes.
was also a close friend of Mandela,
yes, and he was very involved with the
South African movement.
South African Liberation Movement, close friend of Nelson Mandela, and a friend of WPFW. We will in the future be really paying tribute to him. And again, he was often on this show. Thank you, Chuck, and I know
Welcome,
you have
Chuck.
to jump off, but thank you for joining us. And again, our prayers are with Bill Lucy and his family. He will remain present with us into the future. You're listening to WPFW 2 Heal DC 89.3 FM. This is Joni. We're going to move into our second half hour now. And I'll just announce at the end of the show, at very end, we're going to have a special talk with our own Robin Holden. But let's talk about what's going to be happening this coming Saturday. And I want to introduce my two wonderful guests. This coming Saturday, there's going to be actually a national summit on the issue of gun violence, linking that with issue of racial injustice. And I first want to give a shout out to Reverend Graylin Hagler, who is very much a part of this summit that's happening on Saturday. But let me introduce our two wonderful guests. Excuse me, folks, I'm a little bit stressed out here. Okay, introducing Reverend Patty, who is the pastor at Fellowship Baptist Church. She's an activist in on the issue of gun violence. I believe she just had a very special anniversary as a pastor, and she works closely with Reverend Hagler and has been on this airwaves often before as well. Also, I want to introduce Ron Hampton, who is definitely a member of the PFW family, 24-year veteran of the DC Metropolitan Police Department, served as the executive director of the National Police Association of the Black National Police Association for over 20 years. He now serves as the convener chair of the Institute for the Black World's 21st Century Police Reform and Accountability Task Force. Last but not least, Ron is also definitely a member of the WPFW family. So, with that said, I'm excited to have both of you on, and I don't know who may want to jump in and what is happening on.
Go ahead, Reverend Fierce, because she's coordinating everything.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited again. Joni, thank you so much for having me. Ron, it's always good once, we're working this thing out, even as we speak. So on Saturday, the Friends of Reconciliation is having a summit that is titled Guns, Race, and America's Love Affair with Killing. As the head of Visionary for a part of Graylin Hagler's madness, which he does so well, and I love every bit of it. He had asked me to come to help and coordinate with him. So I run the Ward 4 Faith Leaders Against Gun Violence, and we are a part of this group as well. But a Saturday, we're going to have a 12-hour summit. It's a full-day summit. We're serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner, so you don't have to worry about being faint of heart. And if I were you, I would not want to miss any aspect of it. The one thing that I love about this the most, and this was really a part of Graylin's vision, as well as myself and Reverend Gilbert, was to make sure the local activists got to participate in a national conversation. Because far too often people come into Washington, they have these wonderful conversations with people that we never see, and then our community is still left in the same condition. So despite the rhetoric that we hear from the FBI about gun violence being down, violent crimes being low, we know that if you have been carjacked, if you have had a gun pointed to your head, it is just as real. And so we want to have a conversation about it. We're bringing together as many local advocates as we can. We're having panel discussions with them in the morning. We're bringing national leaders in to dialogue with us as well, so we could start coordinating, collaborating together to develop some real solutions and a strategic plan to mitigate this ridiculous onslaught in our communities.
That's exactly right. That's
Yes,
right.
Before Ron, you jump in, perhaps one of you can clarify. Some listeners may not know what the Fellowship of Reconciliation is, which is a national organization and a co-sponsor. So who wants to take that? Reverend Patty?
Go ahead, Reverend Fierce.
The Fellowship of Reconciliation has been around for since 1915. Dr. King was one of their initial members into the group. These are the people that were not going to go to war. They're putting their guns down. They had no interest in doing this. The conscientious objectors, and this group has been in existence to fight these battles since 1915. It has a rich history. It has a long history, and we're excited that they are the ones that are actually formulating this particular summit. It was to be in Atlanta, and Graylin, as a senior advisor for the organization, said, no, let's bring it to Washington. We need to put it in the face of the leadership. And so we were able to take it from there, bring it here, and we were gracious, we are grateful, and that Metropolitan AME Church downtown in Washington opened up their doors and to be our host.
Yeah.
Yes, and so that's going to be all day at the Metropolitan Washington AME on
Yeah.
15th Street there. I believe that's where Rosa Parks, some of us were there when she had her homegoing service
Mhm.
there back then. And this is free, and we're going to repeat how people can register. It's going to be both in person and online. And
Yeah.
Reverend Patty, just real quick, say how people can register.
Absolutely. You could go to forsummit.org and register. That's forsummit.org and register. It is free. We'll add, donations for food. And I'm not mad at anybody looking for a meal, but just a little something for the pot, so we can continue the work. I think it's critical, because sometimes we see these things, and I don't want you to get caught up into the fact that it is going to be an all-day discussion. All day is not even enough to scratch the surface.
That's right. That's right.
Necessary and powerful conversation.
Right, and we'll in a moment we'll come back to you, Reverend.
Sure.
You could talk about some of what's happening through the day. But Ron Hampton, as you know, you well know, of course, we've discussed gun violence for many, many, many years, and you're very much at the forefront. We're very proud of you. And
Thank you.
how will this be different, though? When I was reading about it, I thought this really may be kind of a different, more hopeful thing with real solutions. So tell us why you are excited about this summit on Saturday.
First of all, let me say good morning to everyone. I'm excited, as usual, when Reverend Hagler calls me to get involved in stuff, and I'm honored to be also working with Reverend Fitz. Then I'm walking in high cotton. I'm feeling good. I'm excited about the opportunity to do this. And we've been doing this work for a long time, and we continue to talk about it. But some years ago, we decided not only did we want to talk about it, but a cadre of us, about 30 or 35 of us, began to meet regularly to talk about solutions and strategies and working with people who have done this work. And we have had the opportunity to also do some pilot projects on this whole issue of community being in more control of their public safety strategy and being involved in the process. And so this opportunity gives us a chance to talk about it. So we're going to have some of the members of that group are going to be here on Saturday. We even, there's a Canadian sister that's coming in town. Jackie Edwards. Miss Jackie Edwards is head of the Black Police Association for the country of Canada. And she's going to be here to talk about some of the things that they're doing in Canada, because Canada is just like the US. It's really no different. And sisters and brothers are up there doing positive things, but they're also in the face of some of the challenges that we have to deal with as people of color. And to hear that rich dialogue, I think, is where people will benefit from it. But the theme, when Reverend Hagler came to me and told me about this, he recruited me last year sometime to be involved in this stuff. And so I've just been excited all along, very excited about the opportunity to have the discussion and be in the discussion and meet these people, because it's something that it's something that we need to be involved in. And Reverend Spears mentioned that it's an international kind of focus, but national. And a lot of times people do come to Washington and have these conferences and leave without highlighting the good work that we're doing here. That's why I'm always talking about Tyrone and the Alliance of Concerned Men, and
Yeah.
he's one of the individuals on the panel because their work has set the mark for community and individuals, formerly incarcerated individuals, get involved in public safety strategies and successfully reducing crime in our community and increasing public safety. So this again just gives us the opportunity to demonstrate how you can get it done and be inclusive in that process.
Absolutely, and that's just one of the panels that are going to be taking place. In a minute, I'm going to ask Reverend Patty to share some of the others. But you're absolutely right, Ron, that Tyrone Parker, who's also very much a part of this show and Roger's show, has some outstanding achievements, victories in this issue of gun violence, and he's always suggesting we need to go back and revisit those. So I'm sure that'll be one of the things that you'll discuss in your panel. What has
Absolutely.
worked?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I had the honor and pleasure of working with Tyrone in the early days in Benning Heights, and just watching the work. Also later on, the work that he did with the up on 6th and 7th Street with the crews up there, the negotiating the truce and whatnot. So Tyrone has been a shining example, if I could use that term, of getting things done and getting them done with the very people who do it. You know, the police are always, and I know this because I used to be a police. We were and continue to be a after the fact response. And I'm not naive. America will always have a police force, but the real work gets done and can get done and continue to get done at the community level with people who live in the community doing this work every single day and willing to invest in that process. And Tyrone, again, is that individual. The work that Harriet's Dream does here in this city and other organizations do here in Washington, D.C. Are examples of what it means to get work done at the community level and increase public safety. And I always go back to that word because safety has to include the public, and they need to be involved in that process. And so again, I'm just honored and excited about being a part of it, and looking forward to Saturday. 12 hours, really, Reverend Fizz noted. She hit on it. I've been talking about this for 50 years, so 12 hours is, 12 hours is dropping the hat compared to 50 years.
So Reverend Patty, maybe you could quickly maybe highlight some of how the day is going to go. And of course, we want to mention, thanks to you all and Reverend Hagler, there's going to be some fabulous music. Lucy Murphy, Ayana Gregory, on and on and on. So that's all going to be linked in and integrated with what's happening. But Reverend Patty, share maybe, if you can, some highlights of the day.
Oh, absolutely. But I think the whole day is really a highlight, Joni. I'm going to tell you the truth, because for me, the most exciting thing, I'm like Ron, when we have so many local organizations that have made an impact, and yet our models are not always viewed as credible. So to be able to have people like Tia from the Trigger Project and have Delonte Goldston from the Peace Walks and to have these people come out and share. And even my organization over in Ward 4, what we have with our Peace Camp was a great model to take all over the city, all over the country. And so I encourage you to come out to hear, not only from our local people, but we'll have Representative Jonathan Jackson come in. He's going to be bringing a message to us. So he'll be flying in from Chicago. I believe Michael McBride will be coming in from the West Coast. We're going to be having people, Diana Ostrich, she's going to be on Ron Hampton's panel. We'll also have Shane Claiborne will be coming in.
A lot of us don't know who these people are, though, Reverend Patty.
And I'm gonna share with you. These are some of the national affiliates that have been doing some powerful work, and that's the problem. This work has to be known. If you don't know what's going on, you can't respond to it. So we want people to know that Diane has been a military person, and she was talking about laying her guns down. Shane does a whole from guns to farm equipment pieces from the Red Letter Christians organization. Mike McBride, he runs the Live Free, which is
That's right.
BRCA folks. And if you don't know, you now you know. You need to come in and find out. And Representative, Jonathan Jackson, who is Jesse Jackson's son, you all know him. He will be one of the national speakers that will come and join us. Of course, Lucy Murphy, as you know, with an amazing voice, she'll be coming in and sharing. So we're gonna have a whole day kind of paced out, so you don't have to wear yourself out. But I'm going to encourage you to please go to forsummit.org and register today. We want you in the building because, there's nothing like having all these wonderful panels, and we've gotten so used to the virtual world. Now, I'm not mad at anybody who's not in the area. Do it. Come online. But if you're here, you need to come and experience.
That's right.
We're also talking about developing community and collaboration with each other. And to be able to touch and talk and share the experiences makes all the difference in the world. We're also looking for, and this is from my end, organizing side, for volunteers. So we'd like you to come and volunteer if you can. We need to get some people helping with the registrations at the doors, because we know that that's going to be possible. So we want you to come, but most importantly, register. There's limited seating at the church, but we have enough to accommodate you. So just come on board at forsummit.org. This Saturday is going to be, that's the place to be, down at Metropolitan AME at 1518 M Street. So I want you to see, that sound like a little rap. I'm going to change my profession here. The place to be is at Metropolitan.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm definitely going to hope to be there. I've been out of town, but I'm hoping to make it. I'm just curious, Ron Hampton, tell us when your panel with Tyrone is.
I think we had a conversation in our last meeting. I think my panel is going to be on from 2 to 3. I believe, is that right, Reverend Patty? Yeah, from 2 to 3. So look, and with the kind of dynamic speakers that we're going to have plenty discussion, because we're going to limit the presentation to the more substantive things that people need to know, but we want to have some dialogue and answer some questions from people. I've had the pleasure, Reverend Patty, working with Michael McBride, and I mean, he's done some dynamic work on the West Coast. So I'm always excited to be in his company, and the rest of the people that are planning to be there. So please come out, be involved, get a chance to have a conversation. There'll be plenty of opportunity to talk and just enjoy the day, as well as be educated about what's going on in our community.
Absolutely. And I'm going to be excited to hopefully be there. And again, in a few minutes, we're going to have Robin Holden hopefully come on after at 10:55 and tell you what you can do after a little later in the evening. But it's so important what this is going to be about, because it's going to be giving positive solutions. We all know the tragedies. We know the beyond tragic story of Justin Robinson, who was just killed a few weeks ago. Tragically, wonderful young man who was part of the Violence Interrupters. We hear these tragic stories and we know people have been killed, but we don't hear what has worked in the past and what can work in the future. Absolutely. So that's one reason of many that you should be there to hear the good stories. I'm hoping, Ron and Reverend Patty, that in a couple weeks, I think it's October 21st, we're going to revisit this story for the hour and have you back where we have more time. I also want to give a shout out to the great poet, Janari, whose birthday was Friday. And
okay, happy birthday.
Yes, absolutely.
I wanted to squeeze in a poem with her, but we'll have to do that a little later. But she wrote, among her many poems, a poem about Justin Robinson, who was her close friend.
Oh, okay.
So we urge you to come out on Saturday. Again, you can register. It's all free, and it's a very, very positive important program that's going to be taking place. One more time, Reverend Patty, how can people register?
forsummit.org. Just go online to forsummit, SUMMIT.org.
Okay, and again, that's the Metropolitan AME Church on
Yes.
15th Street Northwest.
No, it's on M Street. It's 1518 M Street.
Okay, so it's 15th and M. Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's a wonderful church. And we thank the church for being a co-sponsor, and we hope to see many of you there, either in person or online. And again, we want to give a special shout out to Reverend Graylin Hagler for making this all happen.
That's right. That's
Absolutely.
Yes, we're wishing you well. Thank you very much, Ron.
all right
Hampton.
then. All right, thank you. And looking forward to seeing you Saturday, okay?
Yes, and thank you, Reverend Patty, and keep
Thank
up the great
Reverend
work,
Patty.
both of you.
Thank you
Thank you.
again. See you all
Okay.
Saturday.
Yeah,
right.
definitely. Okay, so we want to give thanks for this show today. We want to thank, of course, again, Reverend Hagler, Ron Hampton, Reverend Patty for this, what we just heard just now. As always, we want to thank Magic Mike, our wonderful engineer. Thanks to Mari, who provides a lot of support. Thank you to Frank Smith, who helps me with the technical behind the scenes stuff. And thank you to Parisa, who actually helped me with both of these segments. We're sending Parisa a big hug. Again, we're going to be going out in a moment with a outro song, No Justice, No Peace, by Chelsea Williams. And stay tuned, because in a few moments, I'm going to be talking, hopefully, with Robin Holden about a very exciting and fun a benefit event Saturday evening for WPFW. And let's see, if I'm kind of rushing, I have an extra minute or two, but we can go out now with that outro song, No Justice, No Peace. And Magic Mike, if you could help me get Robin on so we can have a few extra minutes. Okay, terrific. Well, so hang in, folks. We're going to be speaking with Robin Holden in 1 minute.
Justice, no peace, no killer police, no justice, no peace. So how do you think it would be? What do you see? What do you see? What do you see? Blood in the streets. Fall to your knees, fall to your knees, fall to your knees in solidarity. Buildings, they will fall.
Okay, no justice, no peace. And again, I encourage you to make it on Saturday to the all-day summit on gun violence. But now we're jumping into something that is going to be pure joy later on that evening on Saturday. And I am proud and honored to welcome onto our airwaves no stranger, Robin Holden. Robin can be heard every Friday from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Is very much a leader and in the WPFW family. And is going to be telling us about the wonderful event that is happening Saturday evening. Good morning, Robin.
And good morning to you, Joni. What an honor to spend a few moments with you. And the program today was absolutely magnificent. And I am going to encourage people as well to go to the Gun Violence Summit. And of course, you can register at forsummit.org. It's certainly sorely needed in our community. And thank you for all the great work that you do, Joni.
Well, thank you, Robin. Thank you, Robin. And again, the summit is going to be a positive They're going to
Yes.
be giving positive solutions, which we need to hear. And of course, if you want to be in that positive mode, you can continue right through into Saturday evening. And I'm sure many listeners already know what's happening Saturday night. But Robin, tell those people who may not have been hearing about it or maybe need a little reminder.
Mhm. Joni, on Saturday evening from 7 p.m. until 12 a.m. in the evening, WPFW is hosting a reggae concert fundraiser. Now, the impetus for this reggae concert is for all of the WPFW family members, meaning our listeners, the programmers, the general manager, for all of us to get together and have a wonderful time. We have four outstanding international reggae groups that are going to perform for us at this event. Now, the groups, all of them, every single one of them, understanding the importance of WPFW, have volunteered their time absolutely free for us to be able to get together and celebrate one another. We have Carl Malcolm, Lady Flame, who is on fire. The Curlew Reggae All Star Reggae Band is going to perform, and they will lively up ourselves as well as the Image Band. And then we have two DJs, Bobby's Music Machine and Jimmy T Experience. Now, this is going to be a collaboration of not only reggae music, but it's going to have some calypso. It's going to be some R&B, as many of the reggae artists that I just mentioned, because of the diversity of themselves performing in London, performing in the United States, performing internationally in other Caribbean countries. They provide a a myriad of types of music that they play. So we're going to have one evening of phenomenal dancing, laughing. There's going to be food available at the venue. Going to be cocktails available at the venue, and many of the programmers from WPFW will be there to hang out with you, to enjoy the evening, talk with you, laugh with you, dance with you, and it's only $40. Every single penny that is raised that evening goes directly to WPFW. And not only that, WPFW is in dire need of financial support right now, but we're going to party with a purpose to help WPFW move into our new space. And as I mentioned, it's only $40 per person, but we have four bands, two DJs, and an evening that you will not forget for a very long time. The event is going to be held in Washington, D.C., in Northeast, at King's Solomon's Lodge. That's 2245 Rhode Island Avenue, Northeast, just below South Dakota Avenue on Rhode Island Avenue. For tickets, you can go to WPFW's website, WPFWSM.org. You can click on the link there, and on the link, it'll take you directly to where you can purchase a ticket. Now, for those of you who are not very internet savvy, we will allow you to come to the door and you can pay by credit card, your MasterCard, Visa, I believe we're taking American Express, or PayPal. So that evening, which is Saturday night, October 5th, from 7 until 12 a.m. in the morning, until midnight, we're going to have an old school Saturday night get together at 22 45 Rhode Island Avenue Northeast. It is the King Solomon Lodge. And as I said, it's safe, all like-minded people hanging out and partying together. I am so looking forward to you joining us this Saturday night. And Joni, I'm so excited about the fact that you're getting into the city and you're going to be able to party.
Hopefully, yes. And I want to see a lot of you listeners out there. Again, we're living in a stressful time these days.